Bipolar disorder, confirmed by the creator. PTSD, written deliberately into a children's show by someone processing their own assault. Autism, confirmed by the voice actor who played the character for 25 years. A medication theory the creator publicly denied, and the most famous cartoon mental health theory in existence, millions of views, thousands of posts, that is exactly zero evidence. Not speculation, not fan theories, real diagnoses confirmed by the people who wrote these characters into existence. Today, we separate what's actually been documented from what the internet just made up. We're going case by case. Let's move. Before we get into the cases, you need to understand why this distinction matters. Type cartoon mental illness into YouTube and you'll find hundreds of videos. Spongebob characters and their disorders. Winnie the Pooh, every character represents a mental illness. The Fairly OddParents is about medication. Courage the Cowardly Dog is PTSD. These theories have millions of views. They get posted on Reddit, TikTok, Facebook. They get treated as fact. Here's the problem. Almost none of them were ever confirmed by anyone who actually made the show. What most people do not realize is that there's a massive gap between what fans decided is true and what creators have actually put on the record. My job today is to close that gap. Some of these confirmations will surprise you. Some of the denials will surprise you more. And one of them, the most famous one, has literally zero evidence despite being repeated for decades. 5 cases, 5 verdicts. Let's go. Case 1. John Crick-Falusi, bipolar disorder and ADHD. Verdict confirmed. Self-admitted by the creator. In 2018, BuzzFeed News published an investigation revealing that John Crick-Falusi, the creator of the Ren and Stimpy show, had groomed and sexually abused 2 teenage fans who wrote to him asking for drawing advice. The article was devastating. It destroyed what remained of his reputation in the animation industry. John K. responded with an 11-page apology posted to his Facebook page. In that apology, he disclosed that he had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and ADHD in 2008. He wrote that his mental illness made him completely incapable of controlling his impulses. Now, and I need to be very clear about this, mental illness does not cause someone to groom minors. Millions of people live with bipolar disorder and ADHD without harming anyone. Using a diagnosis as an excuse for predatory behavior is not something I'm gonna validate here. What the diagnosis does confirm is the emotional architecture of Ren and Stimpy itself. The Spoonco staff has described Ren Hoke as John K's self-insert for years before the diagnosis was public. The manic creative energy, the volcanic rage, the inability to regulate emotion, the depressive crashes between production cycles. Bob Camp, his longtime collaborator, described John staying awake for days at the office, obsessively redoing everyone's work. Classic manic behavior running an animation studio. The creator's mental illness is confirmed. The connection to the character is confirmed by the people who worked with him. What remains uncomfortable is that millions of children watched a show that was also a psychiatric document of a man who didn't yet know he was documenting himself. That's the record. Case 2. Rebecca Sugar. PTSD and trauma recovery in Steven Universe future. Verdict confirmed. Creator explicitly stated the trauma arc was autobiographical. In March 2020, Rebecca Sugar gave an interview to Gizmodo about the final season of Steven Universe Future, which she revealed changed how the entire series reads. Sugar disclosed that when she was 22 years old, she was assaulted. She escaped physically unharmed, and because she got away, she thought nothing had happened. But then the symptoms started. Quote, "I began to have trouble with my peripheral vision. I felt like I couldn't see what was going on around me. Even something as simple as going to the movie theater was so overwhelming. Just the sound and size of the screen would leave me feeling dizzy. I didn't want to be inside. I didn't want to be outside. I would have trouble breathing." She eventually understood she was experiencing panic attacks. She was diagnosed with PTSD. In that same interview, Sugar confirmed that Steven's entire arc and future was built on this experience. The pink glow that overtakes Steven when he's stressed, Sugar explained it's the gem equivalent of cortisol. His body learned to respond to everyday situations as if his life was in danger because for years, his life was in danger. He fought intergalactic wars as a child. He watched friends nearly die. He was never given space to process any of it because there was always another crisis. The line from Growing Pains where Steven says, "How do I live life if it always feels like I'm about to die?" That's not just a cartoon character, that is a trauma survivor describing hypervigilance. Sugar also cited the book, The Deepest Well, by Dr. Nadine Burke Harris about childhood toxic stress as direct inspiration for Stephen's symptoms. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't fan interpretation. The creator sat down and deliberately wrote a PTSD recovery arc informed by her own assault, her own diagnosis, and medical research on childhood trauma. Steven Universe Future is a show about what happens after the adventure ends and the trauma remains. It's not my analysis, that's the creator's stated intention. Case 3. Tom Kenny. Spongebob is autistic. Verdict confirmed. Voice actor stated on the record. This one hit the internet hard in 2024. At a conventional panel, Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants for over 25 years, was asked about the character. His response was direct. SpongeBob is autistic. Kenny didn't hedge. He didn't say I think or maybe. He stated as a fact. And he has played this character longer than almost any voice actor has played any character in television history. What makes this confirmation significant is that it comes from the performer who had inhabited the character for a quarter century, not from a fan projecting onto the text. SpongeBob's traits, the difficulty reading social cues, the intense special interest, the rigid routines, the emotional dysregulation, the literal interpretation of language, those were always there. The confirmation just made official what many autistic viewers have been seeing for years. This character represents them. Steven Hillenburg, the creator who passed away in 2018, was a marine biologist who deliberately avoided psychological coding in his characters. He never designed SpongeBob to represent any specific condition, but what Tom Kenny confirmed is that regardless of intent, the character as performed and developed over 25 years aligns with the autistic experience, and the person who knows the character best has now put that on the record. The creator didn't confirm it, the performer did. That still counts. Case 4. Butch Hartman. The Fairly Odd Parents medication theory. Verdict: denied. Creator publicly rejected the theory. The theory goes like this. Timmy Turner's fairy godparents, Cosmo and Wanda, are not real. They're hallucinations caused by ADHD medication. Timmy is a neglected child whose parents don't pay attention to him, and the magical wish fulfillment world he escapes into is a side effect of his prescription. Vicky the babysitter represents the harsh reality that intrudes when the medication wears off. It's a compelling theory, it's been viewed millions of times, it reshapes the entire show into something darker and more tragic. Butch Hartman, the creator, addressed it directly. On his Facebook page, he wrote that while he loves the theory and appreciates the creativity of fans, The Fairly Odd Parents was never about medication. Cosmo and Wanda are real within the show's universe. The premise was always meant to be taken at face value. A kid with fairy godparents who grant wishes that go wrong. What's interesting here isn't just the denial, it's that Hartman chose not to be hostile about it. He said he loves the theory, he acknowledged the reading, he just confirmed it wasn't his intention. That's how a creator should handle fan theories they didn't write. Things get even crazier when you compare this to the other denials in animation history. Some creators get angry when fans reinterpret their work. Hartman didn't. He validated the fans' creativity while gently confirming they were wrong. Rare. But the verdict is clear. Denied. The Fairly Odd Parents is not about medication. The creator said so. Case 5. Steven Hillenburg. SpongeBob characters and mental disorders. Verdict: never confirmed. The most popular theory with zero creator evidence. This is the big one. The theory has been circulating since at least the early 2010s. SpongeBob represents ADHD, hyperactive, distractible, intensely enthusiastic. Patrick represents intellectual disability. Squidward represents depression. Mr. Krabs represents greed disorder or narcissistic personality. Sandy represents borderline personality disorder. Plankton represents Napoleon complex with antisocial traits. This theory has millions of views on YouTube. It gets reposted on Reddit and Facebook constantly. It's been translated into dozens of languages. It is, without question, the most famous cartoon mental health theory on the internet. Steven Hillenburg never confirmed any of it. Hillenburg was a marine biologist before he was an animator. He designed SpongeBob as an educational concept, a way to teach children about ocean life through absurd comedy. The characters were built around marine biology archetypes and comedic dynamics, not psychological conditions. SpongeBob is a sea sponge. Patrick is a starfish, naturally slow and simple. Squidward is an octopus, intelligent and irritable. The traits people read as symptoms were designed as species behaviors. The closest we've ever got to confirmation was Tom Kenny in 2024 stating Spongebob is autistic, but Kenny was speaking as the performer who developed the character over decades, not as the creator who designed the initial concept. And Kenny only addressed Spongebob. He didn't extend the claim to the full cast with their respective disorders. So here's the deal. The most famous cartoon mental illness theory in the world, millions of views, thousands of posts, treated as established fact by countless channels, has exactly zero confirmation from the person who made the show. It might be true, it might not be. Steven Hillenburg never said either way, and in a video about what's confirmed, that means it doesn't make the list. Someone sat down and assigned clinical diagnoses to an entire cast of sea creatures. Millions of people believe them. The creator never weighed in. Now the theory has a life of its own that no creator statement could undo even if one existed. That's the record. 5 cases, 5 verdicts. John Crickfalusi, bipolar and ADHD, confirmed by the creator himself in his own apology, and visible in every frame of the show he made. Rebecca Sugar, PTSD recovery arc in Steven Universe Future, confirmed in her own words, built from her own assault and diagnosis and medical research. Tom Kenny, Spongebob is autistic, confirmed by the performer who has played the character for a quarter century. Butch Hartman, the Fairly Odd Parents medication theory, publicly denied by the creator who said he appreciates the creativity, but that was never the intent. Steven Hillenburg, the Spongebob character disorder theory, the most famous cartoon mental health theory in existence with zero creator confirmation whatsoever. What this list reveals is something uncomfortable. The internet has built an entire genre of content around diagnosing cartoon characters, and most of it has no basis in anything the creators actually said. The ones that do have confirmation are fewer than you think, and they're often darker than the theories because the creators were processing their own trauma, not writing psychology textbooks. Not speculation, real statements, real sources, real people who put their own mental health into the characters you grew up watching. Which confirmation surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more forensic deep dives into the cartoons you thought you knew.